In a world of government conspiracy and corruption, a mysterious killer is kept secret by shadow operatives. The few men who have the truth are being erased one at a time. The world needs a hero, and to co-host them do a dramatically read introduction. Because as the news will show, you truly can't make this stuff up, folks. And now for the star of this feature film, our hero, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Well, seeing as how this is our MMB cover-up podcast, I'm going to go by the name Agent J for the rest of the show. And as always with me, with Agent J over here, is the greatest announcer man in MIB podcast history, Agent D. How you doing there, Agent D?
You can just call me D there, Agent J.
Okay, D. Now you can call me Reverend J, and we'll just go on with the whole mess of it. Oh, my God, people. Look, I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to apologize for the podcast from the very beginning of it. We didn't want to do this. This wasn't our idea. The forces that be just kept pushing for us to take an eyeball at this, and, well, we did. And then we're going to lay it out on the table and let everybody kind of make up their minds for themselves whether they can believe this story or whether they can't. But we're talking about what's going on with the torn-up camp and the government harassment and the things that are just disappearing in Texas with Bob Garret and that type of situation. But first up, as always, we've got some news to talk about. Isn't that right, David?
That's right. I'm very excited about the news stuff today.
The very first thing we got to talk about today is, well, the British Columbia Sasquatch investigator Steenberg investigates the Nordegg reports. Now, this is that British Columbia site that was covered by Dr. Meldrum and Todd Standing, and it may even be where Meldrum had his possible sighting, because, you know, there's no evidence to it, so we can't really call it a sighting at this point. John Green has been there as well, laid the groundwork for many of the researchers themselves. What did you think of the article?
I thought it was really interesting. There's actually a couple really great quotables from this that Steenberg said. Is as soon as you post a video to YouTube, basically, it no longer becomes legitimate. It was kind of what he was saying. The advent of the internet has brought more real sightings and information about, but it also just led to more hoaxes. And so the double-edged sword of that, of course, you know, we at the Watchers Lounge like to battle, but really kind of along our thoughts here. And Steenberg actually says that he's seen something that's really large that he can't explain, but he can't actually consider that to be a Sasquatch for 100% because he.
What is a Sasquatch?
First and foremost, a researcher, and then a believer and advocate next.
Right. We don't know what a Sasquatch is, so it's kind of hard to label something a Sasquatch. You see a large, upright, walking creature in the woods. That's normally how I describe them when I run into them. But, hey, who knows? But you can check out at the Squatchers Lounge, Bruce Kelly posted this article there, and I'm not going to read the URL because it's ridiculously stupid. Next up, the Olympic Project finally brought their website up online. I saw Derek Randalls thanking Johnny Manson for such a good job of putting it together, and I'd have to admit, it's not a bad website. You know, we've seen a bunch of these Bigfoot websites go up here recently, and they're normally pretty just blogspotty crappy, and this one's not too bad. So congratulations to those guys. They got a bunch of people on the Olympic Project team now listed. Derek and Tori Randalls, Cindy Dawson for hair samples, Bart Catino, who's also part of the Sierra Evidence Initiative, and God, he's part of everything. James Bobo Fay is a Bigfoot call analyst for them. Richard Kirby, I guess they're, wow, there's a whole bunch of people. Shane Corson, John Pickering. I mean, it just goes on and on.
A bunch of some of those the Oregon homies, and Barb Oliveira's down there, and all sorts of folks that I've met and talked to. It's kind of the project continues to grow. So good luck to them.
Absolutely, just keep pushing on, and eventually you're going to hit the lottery. Like I say, getting a Bigfoot on game cam is like winning the lottery, but if you don't have a game cam in the lottery, you're never going to win.
You got to play if you're going to win.
That's right, but you might get lucky and hit some rare ringtails or some rare animals in your area like we're getting done at the Bluff Creek project, and, who knows what's going on? So there's a bunch of good stuff coming up. I wanted to make announcements of another Swamp Ape expedition out of Florida. Scott and Marlowe and the Pangea Institute. Saturday, February 28th, 2015 at 5 o'clock. Wednesday through Wednesday, March 4th, 2015 at noon. You can check out the information at the Pangea Institute website or contact Scott Marlowe at the Pangea Institute. They are a nonprofit educational service organization. Not really sure what goes on there at the Institute, but they're going looking for skunk apes in the swamps too, so hey, you don't always have to hang out with people who have a shady past.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. Speaking of people who don't have a shady past, the Bluff Creek Trail Camera Project, the winter Indiegogo campaign is going on right now, and we've already got $68 in the kitty. Still looking for 501 to fund it. That's to get the batteries changed out, get the SD cards, and that will usually happen right in the springtime, which will put it up for our summertime change when we go up there and go camping. $4 buys them a beer, $12 buys a battery sponsor, $50 you get film site maps or a painting by the one and only Wes Losner, and $100 you get to come camping with the guys when they go up there and change out the cameras. That's a fun trip. I did that last year, and that's what we're going to do this year. David and I talked about it, and we are going to just kind of meld our June expedition with their July expedition, and we're going to try and film the Squatchcation once again during what we did for the 9 Men Search for Bigfoot last year. So we're just going to add the Squatchcation into that, and that should be one heck of a good time. I do have a little bit of bad news with the project right now. We've got 2 cameras that crapped out on us, and they really did crap out on us. They just won't work anymore. $144 buys a new camera for us and puts new stuff out in the system. We hate to be down. If you have game cameras that you are not using, we will gladly put them in service for you. Contact Steven Stufert at Bigfoot Books. Get the address there, and you can ship them straight to Steven at the bookstore, and we will get them out on the project for them to use. When you want that camera back, you just let us know. We'll put it in a box, and we will ship it back to you. What do you think about that, Dave?
I think that's a great. The donations of money are one thing, but donations of gear is just as good as money, and you can get it back if if I had a bunch of game cameras. I'm in the situation I am now, where I'm not getting out a lot at all because of having the new baby, and my job's kind of been a stress. So I could have sent cameras down that way. Let them use them for a couple of years. I mean, they're changing them out often enough to where within a couple months of a request, a few months, at least 6 months, within 6 months, you'd have it back for sure.
$300 gets you to be a full camera sponsor. It means you buy a camera, SD card, and battery pack, gets it in the field. For $500, those guys will actually schedule a private trip for you anytime you can arrange it with them to go up to the site, and they'll take you down to the film site for a tour around that as well. Now, $500, dude, for a private camping trip with the guys who know the most about the Patterson-Gimlin film site, yeah, that's like so cheap. I've told him to double it 3 times and he won't. So that's how I'm looking at that. You can find them at facebook.com/Bluff Creek Project, and you can also find all their information in the Squatchers Lounge at facebook.com/groups/S-Lounge.
But with that $500, you can basically fund their entire winter season for their needs to get up there and do that, and you get to go whenever you want.
Yeah, exactly. You can schedule that camping trip anytime that you can make arrangements with one of the guys to be out there with you. Now, the very last thing we wanted to talk about tonight, and I just had to pull this quote out of a famous movie we've been watching.
I'm here to do one thing, is to bring one of these creatures back. I don't want to talk right now.
So don't get mad.
Just keep the camera off right now, okay? I said I don't want to talk. You got it? Joan, get me a Snapple.
That's right. Tom Biscardi, Joan Get Me a Snapple, has started an IPO to bring in a Bigfoot with no promises for you to ever make your money back, but he's looking for $3 million in investment. Oh, David, tell me about this now.
You can now trade freely on the open stock market Sasquatch, and in particular, Tom Viscardi Sasquatch, and that is extra interesting to me.
Oh my God, dude! I mean,
what the hell is he thinking? That's what I want to know. So they're hoping to raise $3 million. In selling stocks off, worth $3 million. This is amazing. By the way, of that $3 million, $113,000, not very much, goes to a year of expedition to find the beast, to bring it home, and get me a Snapple.
That's like 12 grand. That's like 12 grand a month, and I couldn't fund 3 guys in the field shooting billy goats for 12 grand a month. I just couldn't do it. So I'm not sure exactly whether he's funding yearly expeditions, where they're in the field all year, or whether he's just going to take that 113 grand and buy a bunch of Diet Peach Tea Snapples and some ice cups and go around and sit and not build fires. I don't know, but anybody in the world, the picture right here says it all, gives this clown any money, they deserve what they get. Any investment person who doesn't, actually investigate what they're sinking their money into, let the buyer beware. It's been a long time coming, but man, oh man, are you kidding me?
You can apparently sell anything, shares of anything, as long as it fits the IPOs, you call yourself a business. They plan to spend the money making movies and selling DVDs. Okay, so they're going to make movies. They're a for-profit company making movies about Bigfoot. Can be traded technically, and they were able to because of their poor cash flow. Let's see where those numbers are for last year.
63,000 something.
No, it was like 63. So Bigfoot Project easily qualifies as basically less than $1 billion annual gross revenue. Bigfoot Project easily qualifies. So far, the company has minimal sales and assets of $6,342, including less than $650 in cash at the end of October.
That's barely enough to buy a couple of cases.
That's a company undergoing growth right there.
That's it, baby. Hey, well, you can't go anywhere up from there. How do you give Tom Viscardi a small company? Give him a big company and wait.
Yep. And he will drain all of the money out of it, like squeezing a lemon into his Snapple.
I saw something just funny like that. Red Jacket Arms, that poor bastard, Will Hayden, that dirty bastard. I mean, he got busted for, raping kids and stuff. I'm not joking. I mean, he's literally charged with, raping his daughter, so I'm not making it up. But, traded against their company name for some licensing fees for, $130,000, and they just made him give the money back to the company. It's like, God, don't these dirtball bags just ever go away?
No.
No, they don't. I guess you're absolutely right. No, they don't. Bastards. With that,
I mean, it's the same as asking for $1 million for Todd Standing, known Bigfoot hoaxer, to produce a video that was already filmed and a documentary that was already filmed.
Oh, God, yeah. And we'll never see it. We've paid for it now twice, and we'll still never see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, you know what? It's time for us this week to get our lesson from our old pal, Wes.
Rules to squatching with your old pal, Wes. Rule number 9, pay attention. Always remember while driving through a squatchy area to pay attention. You could miss a chance of a sighting if you were too busy playing air guitar to rush, rocking out with your squatch out and shit. Pay attention. If you are interested in some squatchy art, go to weslosner.com and get your squatch on in my online store, where I have lots of original artworks by me on sale now. If you want to get some squatchy ink, come see me at Good Neighbor Tattoo in Escondido, California. Stay squatchy, my friends.
And there you have it. Pay attention, people, because if you're not paying attention, you're never going to see squat.
I can't actually look for Sasquatch driving down those logging roads without listening to some progressive rock of some sort. I mean, really, and air guitar just happens at that point.
It does. It absolutely does.
Now, if you're listening to Rush, it's really about the air drums, a little Neil Peart action for you there.
Russian, you're rocking out with your Squatch out, you're never going to find that Sasquatch.
We got one more thing here.
Oh no, it's those damn...
We got one more thing here. Oh, absolutely right. See, I'm jumping the gun already because I want to get to this topic. David, go ahead, buddy.
I just want to say, with all of these, $3 million IPOs, and with Todd Standing asking for $1 million to release a video that he already has, holding it hostage like that. What Kickstarter was really meant for is something like this: a very small but with a good cult following comic artist in Seattle who writes about grammar, poop, and science, created a card game about exploding kitties with two guys from Xbox. 24 hours. They raised their goal was $10,000 to get this off the ground, to get the stuff made, to get it out and start to be produced to make money with. In 24 hours, they raised over $2 million. Just so people, you get the game, you can get the bigger game, you can get the signed copies of the game, you can get the adult, the not safe for work version of the game. I went for the not safe for work version of the game as well as the regular game. So this is what Kickstarter was meant for. Not to make the movies that you've already filmed, or not to make more Tom Biscardi films, because let's be fair. Let's just be fair.
The world does not need more Tom Biscardi movies.
But we do need more really awesome card games about exploding cats.
We do. I couldn't believe that, man. When they went $10,000 they wanted, $2 million they got. Hey, sounds like a good program.
20 minutes they made the $10,000 they needed to fund, and then it's just been going. They have 28 days, and they've already made we looked at it just before, almost 2.5 million.
Yeah, almost $2.5 million. So, hallelujah to the exploding kitties, and now we don't have to worry about Todd Standing holding his stupid documentary that's done or not done, or could be done, or might never be done, or we might never see ransom for $900,000. But dadgummit, it's that time, man. I can't hold back. No daggone more. It's time to get into this Men in Black stuff, man. Roar.
Oh no, it's those damn Men in Black again.
Edwards, let's put it on.
Put what on?
The last suit you'll ever wear.
So last week, David and I kind of took a jesting look at what was going on with all the claims with this Men in Black stuff. We couldn't really get a grasp as to what was going on because no one was really sure what was going on. Now all the podcasts have kind of come out, and people have analyzed the podcasts and the claims that were made and such, and have kind of laid out a timeline for everybody to know what's happened with this government cover-up of supposed Bigfoot attacks in Texas. Now, if you don't know what the story is, let's kind of go ahead and get a timeline of what's going on. Now, originally there was a torn-up camp video put on YouTube by a fellow named Bob Garret. Now, this was the first torn-up camp video. This is not apparently the torn-up camp video that we're talking about now. Okay, so to even confuse it, there were two torn-up camp videos. One was uploaded in 2013, which is the one that I saw. And there was a log burning on a tent, and it just looked like a party that got out of hand. Somebody got hurt, and the bunch of them went to the hospital. I mean, that's really what the tent video that I saw originally kind of gave me the feeling. Now, David, did you get to see that first tent video at all, last year?
I didn't see either of them, obviously, but I mean, you can understand the confusion when there's a destroyed camp video that you've seen, and now people don't even know which one is the right video, and you have the memory of that video is now no longer the video we're talking about. It's crazy.
Right, exactly. So what I did was I went out and dug up an accounting of somebody who did see all of the videos in the timelines that they were talking about, and they posted it all on the Mid-America Bigfoot .net forums, and it's plainly out there. Bob Garrett's interviews in Sasquatch Chronicles. Now, we like the guys over at Sasquatch Chronicles, and we're going to get to talking about that too here in a little bit. This is not our deal. We don't do government conspiracies. We're nearly not talking usually about a Bigfoot attacking people. You know, we're more of the sciencey, geeky side of Bigfoot, and that's fine. You know, one side's entertaining, the other side, you know, who knows what's right. I can't say that it didn't happen, so I'm not going to. So please don't jump on my back because I'm not agreeing with some of the things that the Sasquatch Chronicles guys say. Now, what I'm going to cover here is not me. I did not write this. This is just a timeline of events that happened with it. I'll even show it. Matter of fact, let me do that. I'm going to go ahead and screen share it so that you can see that it's not me to begin with. All right, there we go. So it's right up there, interviews in Sasquatch Chronicles. This is the timeline that actually happened. Okay, now this fella says...
Tell us a story, Agent J. Tell us a story.
Exactly. Now he says, this fella says that he's known about Bob Garret and Travis Garret, Brandon Garret, et al., which means and others in Latin, if you don't know Latin, for several years now, and they're a research team from Conroe, Texas, and they've had numerous encounters in the Sam Houston Forest near Lake Conroe, Texas. Bob runs a website named Texas Unified Natural Research, a blog talk radio show called the Texas Big Thicket Watch, and another radio show named East Texas Mysteries Radio, and posts research videos to his YouTube account under his name, Bob Garret. Now, so we're all talking about the same dude here. Would we agree with that, David?
It sounds all like the same dude.
Okay, now Bob has been interviewed several times on the Sasquatch Chronicles, a weekly blog talk radio show, and the following are this dude's listening notes from those above shows. So we're talking about Sasquatch Chronicles episode 32, The Creepy Encounters, May 30th, 2014. Okay, so we're going way back to May last year. The first notes on it was during one of the night search trips into the Sam Houston National Forest on Lone Star Trail near the end of Lake Conroe. God, I can never say Conroe, right? Bob and his son stumbled upon a torn-up camp. They documented the discovery via video, and they put the video up on Bob's YouTube account the next day. A video made in the dark with a flashlight for lighting. That's the one that I'm talking about. That's the one that I saw. A large X formation was adjacent to the campsite. Bob stated in the video that they frequently researched in that area, and he had been there for a few days prior to the amount of destruction to the adjoining forest was recent and alarming. They immediately suspected a Sasquatch encounter occurred here only hours before their arrival. I don't know why. In the campsite, a new tent was torn up and partially burned. Fearing that they would find dead bodies inside the tent, the video showed them carefully lifting the tent, and to their relief, finding an empty sleeping bag inside the tent. Now, that's the video that they're talking about there is the video that I saw last year. Now, the video showed that the campfire was still smoldering and appeared to have been disturbed, spread around the campsite. A partially eaten piece of chicken was laying on the ground near the charcoal, and suspected urine patches and a possible blood stain. I don't know how you can get that out of a flashlight, but whatever. Was found at the campsite. Possible drag marks and signs of a struggle in the dirt were noted. Various sizes of bare footprints were present all over the campsite. Okay, so that's the first campsite torn up video that we're talking about. That's just, there's already a bunch of conjecture going on here. Would you not agree with that?
I agree with that, but I mean, it's a scary thing to come on to, and you know.
And when your mind is already thinking Bigfoot and you're already out there investigating Bigfoot, I guess I can see why you would lead to think that maybe it was a Bigfoot encounter, but I just haven't heard of too many Bigfoots coming in and kicking my fire around and burning my tent down.
Or Bigfoot coming around while your fire is going at all and doing anything more than, like, you know, lobbing pine cones at you, etc.
Right. Bob said there were many ants around all over the site and saw something they thought was skin from an unknown animal. Fearing there could be possible injured victims, they dialed 911 and notified the sheriff's department. While videoing the site, they heard strange sounds in surrounding forest and eye shine, so they decided to depart the area immediately. Bob said that they returned to the torn-up camp and found the hibachi grill and sleeping bag in the woods adjacent to the campsite. The campsite was as they had left it, and no one had responded yet to the 911 call. Really? So you make a 911 call about possible, like, missing bodies and blood marks and possible skin in the middle of the night at a campsite, nobody shows up. Okay, I'm just going by what the statements are here. Now, again, they made a second video, and then they departed. Later that day, they returned for a third time and found the Parks Department cleaning up the area. He said he was not acting like it was a crime scene, but instead they were cleaning up the site. They disturbed the soil at the campsite was covered with dirt, and they were driving their vehicles back and forth over the site to smooth the dirt to obliterate the footprints and drag marks. Okay, moving on. Just continuing the timeline here. Now, this was the second torn-up camp that Bob Garret had found in the area, which was similar, except the first camp had spent .45 caliber casings distributed around the campsite, as though several shots were fired from various positions surrounding the camp. The first torn-up camp was also videoed and had been posted to the YouTube account. Now, I'm pretty sure I saw the one where they were looking for the dead body in the sleeping bag. So I actually saw the good one. I saw the one they're talking about. I can make some comment on that then. All of these videos have been posted to his YouTube account under the name of Bob Garret, on the Big Thicket Watch Facebook page, and on the Sasquatch Chronicle Facebook page. He had seen the videos during December of 2014 before they were removed. Bob then says he was interrogated for 6 hours, and his son Travis for 8 hours by law enforcement officials. When asked, he said he was not at liberty to say the name of the agency that interrogated him, since it was considered a possible crime scene. I've been around a lot of law enforcement people in my lifetime, been around a lot of government agency people in my lifetime, and if you're able to talk about the interrogation, you're able to talk about who the hell interrogated you. But that's just me. We'll go back to that.
Unless his lawyer said not to talk about it.
Right, well, okay. He says he was intimidated and is now scared to talk about the details, but based upon how he was treated by law enforcement authorities, he'll never take another video of this type of scene again, nor report it to authorities if he finds something similar in the future. So that was all in Sasquatch Chronicles episode 32, The Creepy Encounters. And that was from May last year. Okay, so that's the beginning of it. Now we move on to November of 2014, episode 32, Charged by a Sasquatch. I don't know why that's so... I think the timeline, the dates may be actually wrong on those. But either way, episode 34, Charged by a Sasquatch, November 7th, 2014. Bob Garret interview starts at about 31 minutes, 14 seconds into it. Bob talks about the torn-up camp again, being bluff charged and hearing screams and rocks thrown at her. Travis Garret and Tim Shermans were with him when they found the torn-up camp. They spotted an X made from 2 large trees near the campsite and heard a slap when they were charged. Trees were torn from the ground and tossed into the air during the charge. Bob had a pair of binoculars with a green laser hanging around his neck, and he shined the laser directly into the beast's eye, stopping the charge from 15 yards away from him. Everybody backed off and returned to the parked vehicles. While at the vehicle, Bob turned the spotlight and saw a 8 to 9 foot tall creature behind the trucks. Its face was angry and huffing through its lips like lip blows. They left the area for the night and returned the next morning to look for prints. They found 13-inch prints near the X where they were charged and 20-inch prints where the creature was lip blowing behind the trucks. Let's finish this part of 34. We're almost there. Bob mentioned there had been 3 different torn up and abandoned camps. It also said that he had learned that there had been 2 missing people from this torn up camp, plus 1 had left hurriedly in the vehicle earlier during the incident who was unwilling to come forward to discuss the incident. Bob spoke of 3 videos that he made of the torn up camp. The first was when he, Travis, and Tim first found the camp. The second made during the daylight the next day before the 911 response call. And a third made while the park personnel were cleaning the camp. Bob said he was going to add the second video to YouTube the next day, November 8th, 2014, and all of Bob's YouTubes have been removed as of this date. However, the author did watch the video during December of 2014. So it did go up online, and this fella did actually see the second video. Referring to the alleged campers or victims, Bob said one person was able to get in his vehicle and escaped, while the other two were hauled off. Bob said one sleeping bag was found under the damaged tent, and the other was found thrown in the woods. The hibachi girl was found in the woods. Bob talked about urine patches, skin, trees torn up, and bare footprints. So that was all in episode 34. So now we've escalated.
Indeed. The only things that are the same in those two stories are the hibachi, the bare footprints, and the urine patches.
Yeah, pretty much. And so we've escalated from the torn up camps and the cover up of the campsite to now there's dead bodies and one person's alive and they're not willing to talk. And mind you, if those dates are not wrong, we're talking about 6 months difference from May to November, whatever the actual number of dates are there. So let's flash forward now to January of this year, episode 71. And this is, pretty much, where we've come to. Bob talks about videos and files mysteriously disappearing on the internet and from his PC. He said first his Facebook account, Texas Unified Natural Research, disappeared. Next, he tried to access his radio shows on Blog Talk Radio, the Big Thicket Watch, and found that his Blog Talk Radio account disappeared, and he couldn't access his online radio show account. Next, he checked his YouTube account, and it was gone. At first, he was locked out, and later the videos were gone and deleted. Next, he saw the cursor moving around by itself on his personal computer. Then the screen went blank. Command prompt appeared. Then binary code rapidly ran across the screen. After he regained control, he found that several files, all of his Bigfoot videos, were deleted from his computer. Bob said he had a video of two Sasquatches chasing two large hogs. He had filmed several large dugouts in the bank of the washout, 17-inch prints, and the video, two Sasquatches looking at him, were very clear daytime footage. The Sasquatches moved and flanked him, so they were backed out of the area. Bob said those videos were deleted from his computer as well. Bob said the same day all of those computer records disappeared. DPS tailgated them, backs off, pulls up, harasses them in the car, then disappears. The DPS unit was not on a run and was definitely interested in them. Now, I don't know what a DPS unit is. The Department of Park Services, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess Ricky the Ranger's out doing espionage now. All right, so we're gonna move. Bob also talks about ongoing routine harassment from law enforcement agencies during their research expeditions with other Texas Unified Natural Research Team. He told them the time 2 weeks after he had found the torn-up camp last year, the team was researching the area they call the hidden camp. 3 vehicles drive down a remote gravel-long road at a high rate of speed and roll up on their base camp. This is at night. I can't read all this. I just can't. So these cops, or these wardens, roll up on their camp. They want to check everybody's weapons. Tell them they have a problem with their campfire. Tell them that they want to search their parked vehicles. Refuse to shake hands and act pleasant in any way. The wardens already knew what weapons were carried and where they were stored. Then the wardens tell them in a threatening manner that their camp could be torn up and destroyed, and they could go missing like others have in the past. Just a couple of more sentences, and then we can really start to talk about this. Bob states that now they are stopping his wife and harassing her every day when she leaves the house to go to work. Really? She doesn't own a smartphone? Also, Travis, Brandon, and Bob are followed whenever they go on a research expedition. Bob states that when he goes on researching in the area he calls the corridor, Black Hawk helicopters often appear soon after, and he hears any Sasquatch vocalizations. The helicopter lights up in the area with a spotlight, often flying directly over them and their base camp. He says all of this has been the results of finding and reporting the torn-up camp. During the interview, Bob states he's quitting all social media, YouTube, and radio shows because he can't fight the technology being used against him, and he believes law enforcement is harassing him and intimidating him to discourage his Bigfoot research and his findings. He stated he will not agree to be interviewed on the radio anymore. So, please stop telling me to talk to Bob Garret. He won't talk to anybody. I've tried. Now, I know that was a little bit difficult to just listen to. But I wanted to get the timeline out there for people to understand. This is more than a year going on with the escalation of these torn up camp videos. I mean, are you getting a feeling for what's going on here, David?
Yes, and it's hard. Is he telling different facets of the same story, like so much so that it becomes like a whole new story? Is it a story that he didn't feel comfortable telling and then changed? Like, the first story he didn't want to talk about the dead bodies, but then the second time he came on, he talked about the dead bodies, and then the third time he comes on, he's talking about how he's just going to disappear.
Right. Now the harassment's gotten so bad, all of my stuff's gone, all my files are disappeared, I'm just done. I can't fight this. Well, I never said anything bad about Bob Garret on the last podcast. Haven't said anything bad about Bob Garret on this podcast, so please don't PM me again. What I'm saying is the statements in themselves are difficult to grasp a hold of and on a believable status. Just like we talked about in the beginning of this, the name of the agency that interrogated him, since it was considered a possible crime scene, he didn't want to give the name of the agency that interrogated him. When the government wants to shut you up about something, they shut you up. You don't go out and talk about the government shutting you up. And that's one of the big red flags that pops up in my mind. Now, what are you thinking on that on that kind of a basis?
I have some friends that work in various levels of the government. I have a friend who works for a newsletter in Washington, D.C. that actually writes publications that are distributed to Congress people so that they know what's really going on in all these bills that come out. Like it's kind of like the Cliff's Notes, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. As far as I can really tell from my friends who work with and for and around the government in their various ways, the government couldn't organize and orchestrate a cover-up on an individual unless that individual was working for the government.
Right. When the government wants to cover up an individual, that individual disappears. They go away. They no longer are on the planet anymore. That's how the government covers up individuals. They die.
They can't. Yeah. They can't find their own ass. So once they find a person, they pretty much have to take care of the whole thing. I'm not saying that there's not some sort of harassment going on there. I'm not saying that maybe, in this quote-unquote corridor is like a grow operation somewhere, so every time they go in and start a campfire that it might be black helicopters. It's probably not Black Hawks, but we have them up here. The DEA helicopters fly up and down the border. They're all around the area that I'm looking in because on the next ridge over, you can walk up the side of a mountain, and then when you go down, you're in Canada. So yeah, the DEA is all over there, and they fly black helicopters, but they're not Black Hawk helicopters.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up as well. We're not saying that he's not being contacted by some sort of law enforcement officials. If you are literally just plaguing your way through Drug Alley where they know all of their investigation work is going on and they know they're about to make a big bust and they've told you time and time again to stay out of the area, you think they want you to stay out of the area because there's no Bigfoot activity going in there. They just want you to stay the hell out of the area so you don't screw up their drug busts or don't get shot up by Johnny friggin' pot grower and end up with your camp torn up and you disappeared with drag marks because Johnny Pot Grower shot you, killed you, and dragged you off, and not a Bigfoot. And I've gone in, I've talked to 12.5 people, and I just wanted to assert to make sure that Bob Garret himself is the one that is asserting the Bigfoot connection to this government contact. And I've been told time and time and time again that they keep interrogating this man over Bigfoot content, and that's my confusion in it. What's your thought on that?
As far as the best control that the government has is ignorance of any topic, whether it's what is it? The big topic right now is that Russia is pressuring Obama to talk about aliens, or else they will, or something like that. Whether that's an actual thing or not, or it's just some sort of a ruse to keep us all looking in a different direction. Could it not, if the government agencies really wanted the Garretts to stay out of this area because they wanted a drug bust so bad, or because of a lot of reasons, like if they weren't welcome there, could not the government have staged this scene? If there was no actual witnessing of the Bigfoot, like just to get out, or could it have been like Jeff says, the people, if somebody wants you to leave and they know that you're there for a particular reason, all they have to do is stay out of firelight and listen to you talking about Bigfoot, and they know why you're there and why you keep coming back. There's so many ways that this could be so many things, and doesn't mean that doesn't take anything away from the what the Garretts have done for
their research or anything else, their findings. God bless them.
It seems like there's something that like has struck a chord somewhere, and there could be this weird pressure, and maybe these people that are harassing aren't. I mean, you should. I hope that they're asking to see credentials, like. If this is somebody from the Park Service harassing your wife, please ask. Can I see your credentials? Because it is the color of law that any law enforcement officer must identify themselves by identification of their licensing official. So if it's a local cop, you should have an ID that says your town's name on it, and it's his name and picture on it. If he cannot produce a picture ID, if he is not in some type of identifiable uniform, then tell him to pound sand. There's the door. You have rights. Assert them. Get a lawyer. Get a bodyguard, if that's what it is. You can put a bodyguard on your front door that says they're not taking any visitors right now. Guess what the law can do about that? Nothing. If you don't come out of your homestead, they don't have nothing to do with it. I don't understand the harassment's not being videotaped. If you're being harassed on the street, dude, you've seen YouTube, cop block, watch the cops, don't get stopped by the illegal alien stops. I mean, they're all out there. That's what we have smartphones for these days. There's so many reasons why the takedown YouTube channel after YouTube channel. It could be Bob Garret 01, Bob Garret 02, Bob Garret 03, and putting up the documentation of this harassment. If that's a thing, look, I'm just a guy looking for Bigfoot, and Big Brother wants to come after me. That says something. But right now what we're left with is a lot of questions, and for me and on this show, we hate questions.
Now you listen to the Down the Rabbit Hole episode, and we haven't even included that yet. That was with the Men in Black Ken. Did you listen to that episode?
I did, and because it's one of those situations where the information was not streaming from Bob himself. Or couldn't be corroborated. It wasn't Bob talking. So all this information came in, and I don't even want to talk about it on the podcast because you can't corroborate any of it. It wasn't somebody's own words. It wasn't anybody's what they were saying.
Bingo. That's exactly right. I didn't want to talk about any of this stuff on the podcast because it's not coming directly from the source anymore. All of this new stuff, according to Bob Garrett's own words, he's done. He ain't talking to anybody now. So where's all this information being piped from? Where's the conspiracy being continued from? I don't quite get that portion of it. One of the other questions that came up, really, you call 911 in the middle of the night about a possible, foul play situation, and apparently you're able to get there, so the cops will be able to get there, and they don't show up until morning. You don't really know when they show up. Apparently, you're able to show back up and take videotape, but the cops aren't still there by daytime. I have a tough time, stomaching that one.
Yeah, there's there's room for error. I mean, you know, Jeff, you and I, we do a live show. We know that you can misspeak and say things incorrectly, but when it's so specific, again, we're left with more questions than answers in this situation, and you know, it makes me hopeful that at some point somebody will come forward with a full documentation of all this, whether it's video or not. It's like, okay, here's an actual interview with the actual Bob Garret, and here's the story from start to finish, and not just as we have to piece it together. And that it becomes a game of, you know, telephone almost, and like, you know, I mean, so here I am coming up with other plausible like explanations for, oh, well, maybe it was the drug cartels coming to his house and harassing his wife, and not the Park Service or something. It's totally bunk, but like, you know, it's just you try to juxtapose it against like, what, okay, well, if it's not this, maybe it's this, and then we end up with this crazy like overall story. And I would just like to hear the whole thing start to finish from Bob, and
I would like to see a real long interview from Bob in his own words from start to finish. It would take 20 minutes. It wouldn't take all that. I'll even conduct the interview. I'll be happy to host that interview with Bob Garret, start to finish. Tell your story. Tell us what's going on, and we'll put it out there. I ain't afraid of no government agencies. I'll give them my address. They can come hang out at my house. You know, I'll introduce them to the dogs and let them get pecked by Seamus. I'm not afraid of them. But, you know, I would really like to hear it come from Bob at this point, because I was contacted by Wes directly. Wes Gamer, he contacted me. He's like, dude, you're so far off about this Bob Garret stuff. And I was like, dude, did you even listen to my podcast? He's like, well, admittedly, no. I was like, well, you know, there you go. You're listening to other people tell you about what they heard on my podcast about me slamming Bob when I didn't slam Bob on the podcast to begin with. So that's the big problem we're talking about, a rolling snowball down the damn hill. One person hears it, gets mad about it, tells it to somebody else. Now, apparently, Bob listened to the podcast, and Bob was upset by what we said. But if I were Bob, I'd probably be upset by what we said too. We made light of what his bad situation is. The only reason I made light of it is because I didn't have any real answers for it. That's kind of the way that I deal with stress. I make light of it because it doesn't make any sense. It's better than getting angry over it and yelling and throwing stones at people. I mean, that's just stupid. But I can't tell you what's happened at all now because I haven't heard it from Bob.
Yeah, and the stories that we have, you know, conflict, and that can happen. And we're working on like second and third hand documentation of some of this stuff, and we don't even have access to all of those interviews anymore. So we're stuck with where is it, and of course we're not going to jump on like, you know, there's a conspiracy. I can't do that. My mind does not allow me to jump on the conspiracy bandwagon. I think that there's got to be something more to this. Well, maybe there's not. Maybe there is a conspiracy. I don't know, because we can't actually we can't address the source.
Right. There's no tangible proof of, and there's no tangible proof of not a conspiracy happening, which is what makes it a plausible conspiracy. I mean, was there a man on the grassy knoll? I don't know, but he wasn't me, so I can say that I wasn't the third man on the grassy knoll. And I definitely wasn't, you know, involved in any of this. And we only turned our eyeball towards getting out the information and putting out the suggestions that we have, because people ask us to. We had a whole other show planned for tonight. We really, really did. But I'm glad we did this, because now it's out there. These are the statements that were made by Bob in those shows. You can go back and listen to them for yourself. I didn't make this stuff up. These aren't my biased show notes. We're making comment upon the information that's available to us. If you want us to make comment further upon that, then provide us the source with the information, and we'll be glad to continue this saga. What do you think, Dave?
I mean, it's phenomenal. It reads like something out of a suspense thriller. Like,
time to write a book.
Yeah, but where's the meat? Where can I sink my teeth into this and be like, okay, I'm on board? And so far, it's more confusing than anything else. I'm gonna say that over and over and over again. And that's, you know, if we make fun of stuff and like, you know, kind of like brush it off like, meh, well, it's because I can't sink my teeth into it. There's not enough substantiation, and I can't talk to the people or communicate with the people that are involved, and that makes it.
And we have made those attempts, people. Don't think that we haven't. David, matter of fact, have you, right, prior to Showtime, we even tried to make an attempt for further contact, did we not?
Yeah, it was a little bit short notice. You got to give Facebook a little bit of time to soak sometimes on those private messages. But I sent a message to Brandon, and if there's anything further you want us to bring up next week, we'll bring it up.
If you want to come on the show, you want to do an interview with us, we'll be happy to talk to you. No problem. But we want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I'm done with this. Well, if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying. Well, since you can't tell me what you know, don't give me that bunch of crap. Put me in place with somebody so I can know what you know, and then maybe I won't be saying what I'm saying. But from what I can see on the table, these are the facts of the case, and they don't look so good. That's where I'm at with it.
If this was a story coming from a less credible source than where it's coming from, the red flags are all over the place. Let's put it that way.
That's where I'm at. I'd like to track down the red flags, but unfortunately everybody's clammed up. So until I can get to the bottom of some more of these red flags, then I'm still at the same place we were at last week. He may have some kind of government, involvement going on with him, and there may be something to the torn up camp videos as to why they were taken down. And I'm not even saying that the stuff wasn't deleted off of his computer, because I've seen some government officials do some crummy stuff in my time. But I need to see a little bit more, proof that this is a Bigfoot connection and not just, some meth lab connection.
Exactly. People who see orbs flying around and have things, speaking into their mind, like, why isn't that ghosts or aliens or, unicorns?
Well, on a final note tonight, Jamie Wayne was looking at going up to Soha. They think they've actually discovered the actual location of Soha, and they were going to go up there and check it out. And people have been kind of asking me and bugging me a little bit about, well, why do they think they have the right to do that? Dr. Chase put years of Bigfooting in up there, and they're just going to go up there and do their thing, and it might ruin it. Well, yeah, okay, if you're afraid of good investigators coming onto your property or your research area and discovering things, well, then that's probably when they should go there and discover things. I don't know of anybody else that runs a project within the Bigfoot community that wouldn't welcome any of the guys from the Bigfoot from the Bluff Creek Project up to go Bigfooting with them. Rowdy Kelly, Jamie, Steven, any of the guys, Robert, and they're literally like 60 miles as the crow flies from the location. It's on the other side of the mountain caps from their research location at Bluff Creek. So technically, it's even in their home range. Why wouldn't you go? What are you thinking about that?
If you're running a habituation, if you will, where you're habituating the subjects to the presence of humans, or maybe it's just yourself. I mean, you have these other folks come in and do things that other folks do there. It's probably, we're just going to say it's public property. There, it looks like, there's a logging road with turnarounds, and other people have probably been in that area before and will be there afterwards. So
stop habituating wild animals that will eat other campers. That's the first thing I would ask Dr. J to do. Stop habituating wild animals to humans around other campers. It's public land. It's dangerous. And by the way, free Grady. You ever strap that kid to a friggin' tree as Bigfoot bait again, joke or not, somebody needs to call Child Protective Services on your big ass. Sorry, oh my God.
I'm sorry, the breadstick was pretty funny.
Well, it was. He thinks he's hysterical, but that 10 seconds of fun for your kid's gonna end up as 10 years of friggin' therapy later on in that poor kid's life. I mean, good God, as it is, you're making this kid sleep out on an open cot near the fire in habituated bear country. But yeah, whatever. It's good. Hey, Dr. J, invite the guys up from the Bluff Creek Project, and you'll probably have a great time. And, they're going to do their thing. If not, they're going to come up and check it out anyhow and give their opinion. And we might have to extend our Bluff Creek trip if it's only 100 miles by road to include Soha as well. Look at that dead look. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just want to go to Bluff Creek, man. I want to spend as much time there as possible. But, I mean, if it's right there.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. If it's like a day ride up there and back,
if it's closer than going down to the Sierra Kill site, I mean, I'm all in.
By far closer than that, that's for sure. Well, guys, that's going to do it for our show this week. We want to thank you very much for tuning in. We're not making fun of Bob Garret. We're not making fun of the light that there's some kind of government involvement going on with some researchers in Texas. We would just like to see the whole thing played out from start to finish without a year of interview in between them, and maybe get a bigger, fuller package picture of what's going on. That's kind of my final thought on that. What do you think, Dave?
Nobody has done that full on, like, okay, here's where we were then, here's the story as it happened, going through, and here's what's happening to me now, sort of a thing. Like, let's watch this story evolve versus the chunks that we've gotten and the conjecture that's happened. And it's a big topic right now, and people are like, obviously, like, Jeff, you've gotten angry PMs over it. Like, this is a big topic. People are really interested about this. But we don't have information, and the story is not correct. The story is not correct. I don't care what version of the story you've listened to. Like, it's not correct. So don't get mad when somebody poo-poos it, because I can say for sure that the story that most of us have is probably not the story that Bob Garret would come on and tell you from start to finish. This is the first time that we had this thing, and this is how it evolved through to what we're experiencing now. It would be a different scenario than what we're experiencing right now. So the story that we have is hard to take, but we don't have somebody to come and correct us at this point.
Very fine words from a very fine man. Thank you very much, David Batdorf. And for the father, Baby Batdorf, I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly. We want to say thank you for watching the Squatchers Lounge Podcast, Season 3, Episode 3, and we'll see you guys next week.
Weren't we supposed to talk about a serious topic tonight?
Nobody gave a crap. The answers that you're looking for are right here.
Look into the light. You won't remember the show even happened.
That's right. Get married, have a lot of kids. And remember, Squatchers Lounge Podcast is the #1 Bigfoot webcast on the planet, hosted by a red-bearded man in Alameda.
And we love you.